Welcome to Team Perspectives, from Beyond the Bottom Line. This is where we step inside the company and talk through the real experiences behind the work. In this episode, Miguel introduces his co-host, Ashton, and they talk about how they met, started working together, and how their partnership shows up in the way they serve clients today. Here's Miguel.
Hi, and thank you for joining today's episode. I'm joined by Ashton Shanana, Centurion's Director of Client Experience, and you are here for a very special version of the show. We are recording the first of many mini-episode, a Minisode, where we go one-on-one, take you behind the scenes on how we work. Today, we will cover Ashton and my origin story, how he came to work at the firm, and how we're doing. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, we talk about this behind closed doors, might as well record it, right?
We are recording, and part of me is worried about that. But we had a little practice session before, and we kind of set some ground rules. So the question is, are the ground rules going out the window?
We don't need ground rules. We're good.
So I thought I'd start because this is our first one. It's going to be a first of many, where we do these rapid round. And the rules of engagement are, I've come up with questions. You pretty much have very little clue about what we're talking about. And we're getting your knee-jerk, authentic reaction. You're going to try and keep it PG-13, but, authentic sometimes means not that. And we're just going to talk about kind of what we're working on, what we're building, and what our experiences are. So, Ashton, are you game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's start with Ashton. How did you end up here, dude?
Well, I mean, it started at a party with you back in 2017. We were just at a party because you do tax, obviously. But at that time you had a brand that focused specifically on real estate. And we just started talking. Hey man, why can all these other people do real estate and make this money? It looks so simple. We're probably a lot smarter than a lot of these folks. So let's go do it ourselves. So that's when me and you started making trips down to Mexico. We started going down to Rosarito, Mexico. I've known you since middle school. We've been part of the same best friend group since middle school. Yeah. We were high school debate team partners as well. So we both knew that we could.
By the way, that's like us flagging that we were the cool kids, that we were on debate.
Of course. Well, I joined debate because of a girl. What was your reason for joining debate?
I can't remember. Let's see. Did I get kicked off the football team and wanted something to fill that schedule? Something like that.
Yeah, I was really bummed because I joined specifically for this girl. And then the year that I joined was the year that she stopped doing debate. So I was just stuck in debate without this girl.
But the joke of it is you actually had a good debate partner. And then Jesse left. I became your debate partner.
Yeah, my strategy was just repeat everything Jesse just said. And then Jesse would come and close it. And then when Jesse left, I had to be the one following you or starting it off. I don't know. It definitely wasn't the same, but we won some tournaments. We did.
We won some tournaments. I remember that I showed up and I was like, okay, like I'm new here. What do I do? And you're like, dude, I don't know. Like I always just followed him whenever Jesse was here. Yeah. So we started working together because we basically co-invested in a short-term rental in Mexico. I invited you to be our sales guy.
Yeah, pretty much. I was in a part where, I just got laid off from a job. They did mass layoffs and you were at the point where your business was just floating by and really needed to hire sales. So you couldn't hire a full-time sales guy. I didn't want to go back into full-time sales. So it just made a lot of sense to join forces. And I still remember because at that point you lived 2 buildings down from me on Avenue G in Redondo, where I just walked over to your house. We sat in your 1-bedroom apartment. I think on your bed, you had a whiteboard on your desk in the room, and we just mapped it out. And I always remember, Ashton, I can afford to lose money on you for 3 months and 3 months only. If it isn't looking like we're going to, do anything here, I'm going to have to let you go after that. And that was 2018. So 7-8 years later, here we are.
Here we are, man. You've somehow managed to keep selling and the goals have gone up and you figured out how to do that. And I think, it's important to kind of distinguish that sales in kind of accounting and tax context is very different than like software sales. So I think what's been really cool is seeing how you've really developed to understand that. I think it's true in all sales that you really should understand who you're talking to before you even recommend anything. The reason it was so important is because this is 2017. 2017 going to 2018, Shuttercom CPA, which is our short-term rental brand, was blowing up. Like short-term rentals was blowing up, and there really wasn't at that time any tax-focused content outside of, I think E&Y had something on like how to report it, but there wasn't anything dedicated to helping the Airbnb host. So what we did is we built an SEO funnel. Actually, I bought it from a buddy of mine, and then we went from 3K uniques to like 8,000 uniques. We had way too many leads to actually do the work, and me being within 1 year, like I started the business really in 2017, and I was just like, well, we're going to say yes to everybody. We're like, if they're willing to pay us, like we're taking these on. So chapter 2 is like how we actually dealt with having more clients than we can satisfy. But chapter 1 was, man, like we're getting this done. And you actually worked on the outbound strategy. This was like back when like outbound email actually worked.
Oh yeah. I love that time. I would reach out to 30 different companies, 30 different contacts every single week. That was kind of my quota. And out of that, we would get at least 5 meetings per week. Nowadays, I could send 300 emails. I'll get a single reply. So back then it was great for me. I mean, because me and you, we really developed how we talk on the phone, how our pitch is. Like we were doing that, developing it on the go. Really like, hey, what should we say? What's our value add? And then we'll brief after every call. I'll be like, hey, Miguel, that was not something smart that you said, or Ashton, never say that again. Hey, maybe let's reframe it this way. Let's talk about it like this. And then I would say after just a couple months of me and you doing that, we became a pretty lethal duo. And that's when we started getting bigger clients. That's when we started getting bigger deals. And that's when things really started taking off.
But yeah, that's right. So I think what was really cool is because you had enterprise experience. Like I already had someone in the chair of fielding all the inbound leads. And at that time, I actually wanted to grow the TaxAct brand. Because I kind of realized like if we go after bigger companies, if we're doing the R&D tax credit, we don't have to play the volume game. What was really cool if you had enterprise software sales experience. I remember the first year of actually working together, you were like, in my experience in sales, this is how it works. And I was like, dude, it doesn't work like that. Like you got to think a little differently. But what was really cool is we were able to add some logos, as they call it, of companies that, have really grown with us. And I think that's the coolest thing is that the 400,000 annual revenue client that we closed back in 2018 is now like 20 million ARR. Like that's the coolest thing about it. But yeah, outbound was a thing. It no longer is. And I'm glad it worked back then because to your point, those 3 months might have looked different if outbound didn't work, right?
Oh yeah. I'd be back in the corporate world doing 14-month sales cycles where you get one big dopamine hit when you close a huge deal, as opposed to, this route where I can make same day closures. I can do a week-long sales cycle, a month-long sales cycle. I mean, I just closed someone in a year-long sales cycle, but I don't like those. I don't like the constant follow-ups, the constant buttering, the constant like, oh, please come talk to me. It's just not fun. So I'm really glad to be in this type of sale. But yeah, we clashed a little bit in the beginning because like I'm used to whining and dining folks. I'm used to, people not responding to me for 3 months and then finally be like, okay, let's go get a lunch really quick. So this route has been at least in my opinion, a lot more fun because you get that. I like instant gratification. That's a flaw of mine. Could be a strength, who knows? But I love when that deal closes, when I'm closing the deal once a week, twice a week. I mean, it just makes me feel good.
Awesome. Well, this turned into the origin story, which I'm actually really grateful that we talked about. And I will say, kind of bringing it all together, I think a lot of how we work together in debate has kind of worked together here. Whether that is like me as the SME leading the conversation, you kind of setting the floor, me the only one to jump in. You know what? I will actually say that for anyone doing accounting sales, having 2 people on is really important because while one of them talks, so let's say you're talking, I'm actually watching the lead's face. So like we did a call yesterday and I can kind of see when they're like, yeah. I did see immediately actually when they're like, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I think it's been very interesting developing that. And I think at the end of the day, we're better understanding like needs because we've got 2 people kind of listening for what the right thing is. And ultimately, I think what we want are clients that are going to be good clients. And we want to make sure that we're promising and offering things that we know we can deliver on.
Yeah, and honestly, one of my favorite parts about being on the phone with someone else from the company, especially an SME, is that we can also be very solution oriented during the call. Like I could ask you a question like, hey, like I know this is important to John. How can we get this into the engagement? And you can be like, well, actually, I don't know if that's important to John or not. And then John,
exactly
it's very, very important to me. Or like,
exactly right.
I don't know a way to get this in there. So we're both trying to get them in the right thing for them.
Yeah. And we've developed some cool tactics. I think we talked about them, but I think one of the best ones is challenging. You know, I'm hearing that, but I don't know that that's really what's important to you. And you get John being like, yes, it is. It's really important that we get on-time tax financials and tax projections. Well, John, it so happens that that's exactly what we focus on. So that's really cool. We talk about the pendulum. We'll break that up. There you go, guys. Ashton and Miguel's origin story. We brought you from middle school to present day. It's been a journey, and we're excited to have it continue.
Yeah, and the only difference now is I have to let Miguel win our debates since he pays me.